What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Takeoff. I am your host, Max Henry, and on today's episode, we have Denali Siruno, who is from the Salt Lake City area in Utah, and recently was adjacent to some hot water or hot takes. I heard about this actually on the Store podcast, but he and some friends have a meme page and brought up some interesting points to talk about in regards to style and how style fits into parkour. And the general gist of that one, which we'll get into, was, do we want to push things vertically? So how much do we reward a side flip or a back flip, but it's done in a really gnarly spot, or it, is done over a really far distance versus pushing style horizontally? And I see them as, in a lot of ways, basically the same. I think doing a side flip rail precision could be seen as pushing things horizontally and creatively and aesthetically. But Denali sees it, I think, a little bit differently. And I wanted to give him the chance to articulate his thoughts on here and describe what style and aesthetics mean in parkour from his perspective. I think it's really interesting. A lot of people know Denali more as kind of a ledge tricking adjacent style, and he talks about how that was super heavily influenced by the spots he has access to in Utah. And he also talks about how I think that's helped shape how he views creativity and expression in parkour, including some of the goats of the sport that he looks up to, like Pasha, and how they've pushed creativity. So I want this to, or I want you rather, if you're listening to this, to look at this as kind of an exploration of style and what the assumptions are that we have about style in parkour. And I definitely came out of this questioning a few assumptions that I think I always took for granted, like that efficiency or speed can be an aesthetic that I kind of bias myself toward just because of my history in the sport. So this was a really great conversation. I think it brought up some interesting things to think about in how we look at style in parkour, whether it's in video, in competition, or just in our own practice. Denali Siruno, thanks so much for making time to come on the Takeoff. You win best fit for any of the audio only viewers. They're really missing out right now.
Let's go.
Sunglasses are killing it.
Hell yeah.
Oh man, I am very excited to have you on because a few things. I think first off, I was just saying before we started recording, I had not heard about any of the recent Project Underground style commentary that has been happening, and I wanted to talk a bit about that because I think that there are so many divergent ways of approaching style, particularly in competition. And whenever I hear your name in it, I'm always very fascinated what you're going to say because I will verbally, and Christine will back me up on this, every year where they watch SPL, I always go, why does Denali keep getting underscored? And that has just been my like consistent hot take on basically everything that I've ever seen you in. And I think there's like a lot of people who maybe are just like anti-ledge trick style or don't maybe understand the complexity of some of the like tricking based variations that you're doing. So yeah, I wanted to kind of just get all in on where your style comes from and then how your thoughts are at this point in what judging and comp and kind of style development and stuff should look like. So with that, maybe a good place to start is where did your style develop? So I see you a lot in the gym. You're out in Salt Lake City. How'd you get into parkour, and how did you develop such a unique acro heavy style?
Yeah, I mean, I got into parkour because I saw Ronnie Shalvis doing it in the Assassin's Creed video, and I was like blown away that
Hometown
he
boy.
lived. Yeah, he lived in Utah. So he was holding jams, and then I pulled up to the jams because I just wanted to meet Ronnie. I didn't even like do parkour. I just wanted to meet him because I was like a fan of the guy. And then I went to this jam, and there was like 300 people there. It was sick. I just fell in love with it like ever since then because it just became like the center of my life after that. But as far as like my style goes, I was very influenced by like Valtteri and Pasha, Josh Malone, some of like Kalen Chan, like a lot of like the creative stuff Kalen was into. I messed with that. Never was really into the gainers that he did, but like a lot of the interesting stuff that Kalen did, I very much like took from. But yeah, I think my style is very just like I'm a big fan of like tricking, so I really like how they like view the sport where it's very like aesthetic because they have like nothing to really work with, and a lot of the spots in Utah are kind of like that. It's a lot of like like ledges to grass, or like you'll just find like very like simple ledge setups. Like we don't have a lot of like elaborate spots per se, and like a lot of our gyms are kind of just like simple block setups that we can like arrange in certain ways. So a lot of the stuff we learn is very like ledge tricking, because like that's just kind of the influences I was around. And that's also like, I feel like a lot of people's styles get somewhat determined by the spots around them. So the spots in Utah very much like defined my style. Just like there's not a ton to work with, so you yourself have to be very like expressive and use a lot of variations, and a lot of like it's a lot of like the shape you hit in the air, and like variations that you add to a simple trick. Whereas like I feel like a lot of other kinds of parkour are very like spot dependent, where it's like
Hmm.
it's something that you could only do with this type of setup. Whereas with parkour, it's like our setups just aren't that crazy. So whereas in Utah, our setups are not that crazy. So we just kind of have to be more expressive with like the singular stuff we do.
Yeah, your half of your options are just the air. Whatever
Yeah.
whatever air form you hit is like the variations that you can do. I think it's also I'm curious what your experience with like police and authority is like in Utah, because if you're listening from outside the US, Utah is very it is known for being the center of the Mormon church, and in general like a bit more on the conservative like traditional side of things. And I think it's like a very community, when I've been there, it's like a very community driven space. So I think it my external perspective, I'm curious if this is accurate, is it feels like the kind of place where if you're doing something weird, people are going to be like, that's kind of sus, I'm going to like call the cops very quickly.
Yeah.
Which also limits your training opportunity.
Oh yeah, for sure. You like cannot get on rooftops here. Like if you get on a rooftop, you will like get the cops called on you like very quickly. They are very like up
Maybe
their
if you're
own
dressed as
asses
Ezio
about that.
Auditore from Assassin's Creed, you can get away with it. That might be the
That's
hack.
true.
That's why Ronnie and
Yeah.
Kalen have gone into the costume parkour game. This is
Yeah.
nobody knows their faces.
That was the method, yeah.
That
I don't
was
know how
the
they pulled that
well.
off.
Something that I saw. So I had chatted with Callum about this because he had brought up Project Underground, and I guess you want to just tell me your. I don't even want to say hot take, because I think all line building, my perspective on judging, and I have judged style comps, so I'm actually helping judge an online style comp for Parkour Earth. I think all critiques of judging at this point in parkour should be considered valid until proven otherwise, and should be taken as constructive, because even the people who are the most experienced judges, it's like the sport evolves so fast. If you're not paying attention for 2 months, all of a sudden you don't even know what level people are at. Like there's all kinds of things to take into account. So given that perspective, and not from like a hot take, what was your what were your thoughts that ended up getting taken by Callum and the store guys about Project Underground? Or
So
your
the funny
homies thoughts that were
Yeah, the funniest part of that, I didn't even post that. I didn't even make the post they were referencing in that podcast. That was my friend Gunther, because that account you're referencing is ran by like multiple people. I'm just like a lot of people associate it with me just because like I've like openly told people like yeah, like I'm one of the people that runs it. So anytime anything gets posted, I'm always the one that like takes the heat for it, which is pretty funny. Like it was really hilarious like hearing me like randomly get brought up on that podcast for that, because I'm like, bro, I didn't even say any of this. Because they kept dragging it on as like, oh, I bet Denali wouldn't like this run where there was no flips in this. It's like I never, that wasn't even my take, bro. That's not what I
that's
said.
so funny.
But yeah, Gunther was happy about that because he was the one
I
that
also
posted
like
it.
the irony of Callum being the one to bring it up, who has like the most shadow accounts of any parkour athlete in the history of our sport.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like I'm responsible for like a decent amount of those posts, but like that one was not me. I do somewhat share the sentiment though. Like I don't completely disagree, but I wouldn't have worded it as like, oh, well, he just did like side flips and back flips. Like I think the reason I wasn't like particularly a fan, and like the thing with like style in general is it's all completely subjective. Like I think parkour, like specifically like style parkour or free running if you want to call it that, is like completely subjective. It's much closer to like music than it is to like an objective thing like a track and field event or something like that. If
Mm-hmm.
you get into like a skills competition, that is completely like that's basically a track and field event. You're just setting like different challenges that they have to hit, and it's like completely objective. Whereas with style, I think like inherently like the words style competition kind of contradict each other. You can't like how do you hold like an objective competition for style? Like I like this type of music, but it's like there's no objective way to say that it's like better than like this type of music type of thing, you know? But
Mm-hmm.
that being said, I feel I do have a lot of very strong opinions on like style parkour, you know? So
Yeah,
like
and to not give any athletes like specific heat, I think that
yeah.
the Project Underground thing is a great entry point into this conversation. And in that one, right, it was just referencing Ed and Verkey, who obviously everybody who knows this podcast, if you're listening to this, you already know Ed and Verkey are amazing at what they do. So I think like, yeah, this is definitely we don't even need to be specific about athletes. I think this is just a good entry point to like talk about at a general level all of the stuff. I just want to throw that out there so nobody feels like anybody's getting beefed at.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, and that's the other thing too. Like, I grew up like playing basketball and like normal sports. So like, I've always been like a very like competitive person, which like is funny that it translated to like style competitions because it's like there's no reason to be so competitive over it because we're literally doing like basically different sports, I would say. But it's like, so yeah, I do have like very strong opinions on it, but basically where it comes from is like how I see it is I've always been very intrigued by like the new idea that's presented in freerunning because like what makes freerunning like the coolest sport in the world to me is that like no matter how good you get at it, even if you're like the best athlete in the world at freerunning, even if you've done like more skills than anybody else, you've only done like 1% of like what's actually possible. And I think that's like that's why I love style so much more than like any of the other parts of parkour is like you can get like so unbelievably good at it and you're still not even close to like what's actually possible with it. So when I'm seeing like style runs and competitions, I just want to see like the most innovative ones get rewarded, the ones that bring like the most new ideas. And I thought that like
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally gonna butcher his name, but I think his name is like Uyghur or something like that at the
Yeah.
Project Underground one. I thought
Yeah. I don't
his
know how
run
to
was
actually
like
couldn't pronounce his name.
yeah, I thought his run was like so sick. Like he used like really interesting parts of the course and like throughout the whole
Mm-hmm.
thing just did stuff that like you wouldn't even like think to do. Super cool context where he put everything, brought a lot of like new ideas. I personally felt like he probably should have won, but like again, that's just my opinion. Like who cares? It's just style. But I feel like if you're doing a style competition, I feel like what makes the most sense and like what's the most efficient shouldn't play into it at all because like inherently doing something in a stylish way is never efficient. Like it's like the opposite of that. Like I'm doing this super inefficiently because it looks cool. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a very like aesthetic driven part of the sport. So for me it's like if I'm seeing someone like do a big side pre to something, like it's impressive that you did that, but at least just to my personal taste, that's the same as watching someone like bench a lot of weight or something. Like I can respect like the physical feat of it, but to me it didn't really like speak to me. Like it wasn't like expressive and it didn't really bring like a new idea to the table, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's a really valid perspective. And I think your point that style, I actually think that the music reference is a really helpful one for parkour because I do feel like parkour has so many genres, like subgenres of movement that all kind of fit into this category of, you know, interacting with obstacles and setting challenges for yourself that use obstacles in a space. But that could be like Gizmo, and that could also be Ryan Ford doing time trials. And those are, when
Yeah.
you look at it at like a narrow perspective, right? Like, how would you judge one against the other? I'm just curious before we dig any further. What do you think of like a BC1, like Red Bull breakdancing style of, I guess tricking is like this too, where it's just all off of vibes as far as judging. Because I totally agree that when you try and codify it the way that, for instance, Fig has and some other parkour competitions in the past, it is like, how can you break down a side rail pre that's 15 feet up versus like Uyghur, who again, sorry for mispronouncing your name, does that really fascinating like step palm over a gap. You know, like those are both incredibly technical, really interesting uses of space. So, do you feel like that is just like a vibe based judging system that is just embraces the subjectivity? is your favorite?
I think there's like two ways you can go about it. So me personally, I think I'm not really a fan of the current style format of like you get judged on like creativity, difficulty, flow, and execution, because it's like it's extremely difficult to do those, especially like in live judging. Like we've held a lot of like local competitions here where instead of live judging, we've just like recorded each run individually and then had the judges sit down for like 10, 15 minutes and look through them slowly so you don't miss any details, and then
Hmm.
judge them afterwards. Because I feel like having to go off like the standard style format is just like it almost becomes like it's so difficult to actually like do it properly. But there's two ways. Yeah, you could either do it as like a tricking battle where it's like you guys just we give them like 2 to 3 minutes on a course to just go back and forth and do whatever, like take turns doing like combos, tricks, lines if you want, do whatever you want, and just like go back and forth with the person you're competing against. And then at the end, you'll kind of get a good sense of like just the overall vibes of like, okay, who like went harder, brought more ideas to the table, stuff like that. I also think that's more entertaining to watch personally, because like another gripe I have with like the current style format is that you only get like one try at something. So it almost doesn't even feel like you're competing with anybody. It feels like it's more so a competition of like who can do their like super specific to them line on their very first try without messing up. And that's also very determined by like how much practice time you have, or like how much someone like hogged the spot while they were practicing. So it almost feels like it's not even like direct competition when it's like the current style format. So I would much rather see it turn into like a tricking battle type of thing where yeah, it's like you just each take turns like doing whatever you want back and forth and then just go off like vibes. So you could either do it that way where it's like very subjective still, but if you want to do like a more objective way of doing it, you could do a game of trick, which I think is like
Hmm.
super objective, and like you just can never you'll never get mad at the results of a game of trick because it's like you're the one that messed up. It's there's no subjectivity with it at all. But I also think it's like a perfectly valid way of doing a style competition, because like it rewards like creativity and like uniqueness just as much as it rewards like being well rounded. So if someone's like really good at like one specific type of thing in parkour, that can take them really far, but they also need to be somewhat well rounded to do the other sets that like the other athletes are setting. And that could
Hmm.
open it up to like being all kinds of like parkour athletes, not just style athletes. Like if you want to set a nasty like jump, you could set that. If you want to set like a really intricate like ledge tricking thing, you could set that. And I think that way is also more entertaining for like audiences as well. Like there's a reason like game of trick videos do super well on YouTube. Like it's just so much more like objective and understandable for audiences. So I would love personally to see like within parkour, I would love to see more like formats like those like tried out with like the style format, because I think the current one has led to a lot of like people kind of doing the same stuff over and over again, and like a lot of trends of like having to fill your lines with a bunch of unnecessary transitions and stuff. When I think like parkour could be like the coolest sport ever to watch, I think our formats are just kind of not it.
Yeah, I think the game of trick one is super. I would like to see people play around with it because I could see it. I actually think that's a great format for a community event, especially. Um, I could see it at the high level, kind of being like watching adults play tic tac toe, where you feel like it's just going to end in a draw every time because it's like
Yeah.
micro specialists do really, or everybody is kind of a generalist. But it is really fun to watch. And I guess of the, so like there's SPL, there's Fig, which I think most of the people who are listening here would agree that while some people are able to make interesting lines that contribute to the sport in the Fig format, it definitely does not encourage that type of line building that's constructive for like the growth of parkour. And I think Red Bull Art of Motion was the same way. It was like people were able to work within that format, but it wasn't really encouraging the growth. I really like the combo round at SPL, even though they still have not figured out a way to communicate to the athletes or judges how to actually execute that round. But the
Yeah.
concept of it being plyometrically linked, like 2 to 3 moves, I feel like the people who do it actually, it always is like bangers. But other than, I mean, I guess what would be your favorite of the formats that exist currently in like SPL? Do you have a favorite of the 3 rounds?
Yeah, in theory, it's definitely the combo round or big trick. Big trick is also really cool. But like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. A lot of the athletes when they do compete in the combo round, they kind of just do like short lines, which like would be fine if they got like judged accordingly, but they kind of just judge them the same anyway, even if they don't do a line. But in
Yes.
theory, I do like the like shortened, like just do like 2 to 3 of like your coolest things and connect them. Like I do like that because I feel like when you have to do like a 15 to 20-second line, I feel like you're just even if you're amazing at it, you're kind of naturally gonna end up having a bunch of like filler stuff put in there. Whereas if you
Hmm.
condensed it into something shorter, it will almost always be more fun to watch, I think.
I also feel like our this isn't great thing, but like our society, people who are consuming competition online, if they're not there in person, have a 2 to 4 second attention span anyway, which is perfect for the combo line. It's like 2 to 4 second bangers. I have said this multiple times, and I'll say it again because I know Tom and Rez want it to be judged appropriately, and I think it's hard as a judge to give like a very an athlete who's doing insane stuff a 2 out of 10. But is
Yeah.
genuinely what needs to happen next year or this coming year. Is just like if people don't actually connect it, just give them a 0 or give them of
Yeah.
like a 4, because it is not it is exactly your point. I've seen so many situations where you've been in this situation a bunch of times. I think Ed has also been in this situation sometimes where like you do a sick combo perfectly executed that is maybe 80% difficulty to get it to that level of execution, and then somebody does a 10% more difficulty but doesn't actually plyometrically link the movements, and then they're scored the same or higher, and you're like, that's literally the entire point of the round, is so that people plyometrically link stuff. Judging as a whole, it's tough. I will say I actually really like your idea also about judging remote. That's kind of hard, but I think it could be interesting to like let everybody just run back to back to back to back in a round, and then give the judges 10 minutes to look over the stuff and announce all the scores at once. Because there's also, as an athlete, I'm sure you know, yeah, like everybody's kind of looking at the scores and playing off of what they want to do in the next round, and like having the surprise and the mystery of it could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, and you don't even need to give them like 10 minutes, honestly. Like it's really like it's a pretty quick process. Like if you just film it on like an iPhone, you can like slow it down and like see every little detail of it. Because it's honestly like I'm blown away that we still do live judging, to be honest, because you could so easily miss like so many small details in a line just watching it
Yeah.
once and then being like, okay, now I have to like automatically like judge that against like all these other runs that I just saw, which I already forgot. Like I feel like it's very like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like you can give them like 5 to 6 minutes to just quickly look through, just be like, okay, oh yeah, I missed that detail in it. Because like in our local ones that we did that for, it actually like changed what the scores would have been like pretty dramatically because yeah, when you slow it down, like we were judging like one of my friends' runs, one of the judges like straight up didn't even see like this whole like variation that happened in someone's trick, and he's like, oh well, I didn't even see that on the first watch, but on second watch, like I can actually like I can see that. So it
Hmm.
drastically changed their score. They got bumped way higher. So to me personally, like it feels like I'm kind of just like blown away that we still even do live judging. To me, like I just feel like it's very like nonsensical, just in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I get the like people wanting to hear their scores right away, but it takes time to do it, and I think it's worth it to do it right, especially with the complexity. Like you said, there's variations that people are doing of tricks. Like I definitely have seen things where people hyper a trick or do it, like untwist something, and I'm like, I don't actually know if the judges notice that. Or spacing often is very under considered. I think about like Shea Rudolph's lines as being a great example of like he'll make things look so casual, and then you realize that he did a double cork and actually only had 6 inches on either side of leeway before he smacked his shins or something on anything that he's doing. And there's a lot of line building that I think would benefit from people getting to watch it a second time. So yeah, that's a great suggestion. I wanted to also go back. It's like you're talking about obstacle interaction, and I'm curious what, like, who do you look at as the goats if you're talking about like the variety as you were describing style to you and what you want to see more of in comp. Like, who are the goats that represent that?
Yeah, for me, it's probably like gotta have Pasha number one. I think Pasha's just like the goat of like the sport in general. Like every time he posts anything, it's like almost always something I've like never seen before, which like to me is like that speaks to me as to why I think the sport is so cool. Is that like no matter how good you get at it, yeah, like Pasha's always gonna be like adding something new. So he's number one, and then I really enjoyed like how Valtteri competed as well. Same thing, just very like no one else was moving like that. I like how Kevin Franzen competes because he makes really like genuinely interesting usage of like the course whenever he does a line or anything. So very sick. I like watching Wesley or Spinning Turtle on Instagram when he competed
Mm-hmm.
at SPL. Super sick. Um, I guess like yeah, just for me like if you're doing like a style competition, it should be yeah, like the most like stylish run. Like it's in the name for it. So like a lot of times I'll see runs get judged really high because like oh it made like so much sense. Like he moved so like efficiently, which like
Mm-hmm.
to me that's just the complete opposite of what style is. Like if you're doing something in a stylish way, it's not going to be the most like efficient way, you know? So what I would like to see more of in competitions is yeah, the most stylish runs and the most like innovative ones. If you're doing stuff that like if you add something to a trick that's never been added to a trick before, like that should be judged above like anything because like that's the whole point of the sport. Like that's what should be rewarded in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you bring up the sort of like the route planning aspect, because I think that is an aesthetic. Like that is a style. It's a stylistic choice that's kind of left over from or carried over from other aspects of parkour where directness and like speed are valued as like inherently good. And I think that a big part of the reason why you see, and I love, like, for me, I love like Ed's line building. Almost every SPL, I think his lines are some of my favorites, even if they wouldn't be the ones that I judged the highest given the like criteria. They're the ones that I find the most aesthetically pleasing and stylish, because to me, the aesthetic of going quickly and like directly through a space, or Kevin is another one, like him, how he ping pongs around and it still somehow makes sense always with the momentum that he had going into the move. You're like, oh yeah, you couldn't really have made a better choice there. You're going at this angle and then you found this slanted wall and then cheated it and then Sun did a hand plant and then went this way. And like, I think that's an interesting thing. The carryover of efficiency as its own style metric that kind of maybe is under the surface.
I will say, as far as like efficiency goes, I do love watching like Daryl Stingley move. I think like everything he does with like kind of more like traditional parkour is like so visually fun to watch to me. I don't know why, like particularly, but like he is like I love watching him do traditional parkour like honestly more than like anybody else. Like, but I feel like it's because like he adds like very interesting like stylish things into his run whenever he does it. Like he'll do very
Mm-hmm.
tasteful usage of like when he does like a really big descent of something, he'll add like a sick reverse vault at the top of it or something. So I
Yep.
love when he does that. So I'm not like entirely against like doing stuff efficiently per se. It just has to be swagged out. It has to have style to it, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Totally.
it has to have something in it where it's like, "Oh, I wasn't like expecting that," you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me the criteria, like surprise. So Nico Van Hol is maybe my favorite person to watch in the sport,
Yeah.
because your point of like somebody who adds something or has that element of surprise and like defeats expectation. I love it when a clip that I'm like, oh, I know what he's gonna do, and then it just is not at all what you're gonna do. And Pasha has that, Valtteri has that, where you're like seeing him set up over a gap, and like, oh, I know he's gonna do this thing, and it just completely defies whatever expectation you had. Nico to me is like the master of that for technical parkour, where he does a lachey and then all of a sudden is like tic tacking in a complete opposite direction than you anticipated, and I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. Um, what do you so we were talking about obstacle interaction and kind of the idea of adding something new, and I think like a lot of people might hear that and think that adding something new needs to be a variation of a flip. Like it needs to be, oh, that person did whatever. Nobody's done quint on flat. They did quint. Or like nobody has done cork zero with like an extra half twist, which I don't even know what the fuck it would be called.
Yeah.
But something like some variation of an existing maneuver. When you say bringing something new, because I don't think that's how you mean it. So like what do you mean when you say someone's bringing something new in their line or in their movement choice?
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be like a variation per se. It's just like I don't know, if the highlight of your run is just like that you did something that was like super messed up, like you did like a back pre on something where like, oh, you could have died if you did that. It's like, yeah, you could have died, but like that's not really why I enjoy watching something. Like if I were to take it to like basketball, if I were to take it to basketball, I'm not gonna be watching Kobe drop 81 points and be like, oh well, like he couldn't have died, so like what's the point? It wasn't fun to watch, you know? I'm gonna be
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm just gonna enjoy like how cool it was that he dropped 81 points. Like he's doing it in very like in a very like
Mm-hmm.
sick way, you know what I'm saying? So like for me, like the risk of it almost never really plays a factor in like how cool I think something is, but
Okay.
it's more so just like I think it's a very like visual sport, which like yeah, to even like argue like which like styles are better is like it's like arguing your favorite ice cream flavor basically. Like it's a completely subjective conversation, you know?
Unless you
Like
say rum raisin, and then you're either Jamaican or you're wrong. Because I only have to say, because every Jamaican best friend that I've ever had in my life loved rum raisin ice cream.
I've never even heard of that in my life.
That makes
Sounds
sense for
awesome though.
someone living in Utah, so that
Yeah,
checks out.
yeah.
It might
No
be
culture
illegal.
here. It really might be. Yeah. We got no culture
um,
here. It's so over.
well, I actually think that that's a really helpful framing because it sounds almost like you're anti-scale, like how you said that a big side pre is like doing a big bench press, like that's about like output and scale, but the difficulty of the movement is just in executing the scale of the thing. And yeah, I do you feel like that kind of accurately, because when we're talking about height, right, that's essentially also like risk is kind of a factor of scale, like how high up are they, how precise was it. I mean, I think those things, maybe the basketball here, if Kobe's dropping 81 points, like he's not just sinking a ton of shots from half court, or like one shot from half court and then hitting like the like 20 more points in chill layups that he got. Like it's 81 points because you are, hitting some deep threes, like you're moving through the defense and like dropping
Yeah, like the
some
way he
big.
gets to these points is like super fascinating to me. Like it's very
Mm-hmm.
like it's just Kobe that would do that. And it's like same thing with like Kyrie. Like I'm a big basketball nerd, but like I love watching like Kyrie highlights because it's like how do you even like think to get to like the basket in that way type of thing, you know? So that's just what's intriguing to me. I don't have to see
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie scoring a layup over a pool of Gators for me to think it's impressive. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to like have a death risk for me to think it's cool. Is what basically what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So that's yeah, I think the risk aspect makes sense to me. And I guess what I'm like trying to think about here is like you're I've always thought of scale as being inherently part of like somebody's expression of style, like how they express their own style, because that to me is like how I express, like what I've always loved about parkour is like, oh, how can I use this space in an interesting and unique way? And a lot of times that is like, oh, the only way I could get through this gap is actually by jumping to this rail or this pole or like this really specific technical feature. And it feels very foreign to me to try and like separate my brain in that way, but I'm like trying to inhabit this headspace, and I think I kind of get it. But like in my brain, I guess how I would communicate it through basketball is being in Denver and getting to watch Jokic play from time to time, just the Serbian cannon from like 3/4 of the way across the court, and then managing to somehow hit a shot like that or a pass
Yeah.
like that. So where do you feel like scale becomes maybe robotic? And like this is again, like you said, it's like arguing your favorite ice cream. So I think all of this is, as we kind of said at the beginning, not a knock against how people like to train. I'm curious
Yeah.
about your perspective because it feels obviously like you're a very successful comp athlete. You're constantly training and pushing the sport in a like realm of the sport that is very different from me, and feels often very unapproachable, where I look at the stuff that you're doing and I'm like, I think I get about, I can put myself in 40% of the headspace of how difficult that is, and then the other 60% is just black box. Like you're
Yeah.
you move like a cat and like wiggle in the air and then you somehow land. Like, okay, yeah, that looks fucked up. That's about as far as I get. But where do you feel like that becomes robotic? And like you said, Daryl, for instance, like I agree, his movement is super aesthetic and it feels very authentic to like how he sees the space. um yeah, I don't even know if there is an answer, but do you have any thoughts on like when scale or risk or whatever is more stylish and when it's less stylish?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to like put a specific like line on that of like when that happens, but I feel like when that's the only appeal of a clip, it's probably not for me, at least. Like, I don't know, like that really big like cork pre that guy did to that like really thin wall and then almost fell off. That to me was kind of just like, I don't like, you're just kind of like clout chasing. Like that didn't tell me, that wasn't expressive in any way. It didn't really bring anything like new. It was kind of just like you're just doing a death risk thing kind of for the sake of doing a death risk thing. Like it's a cork at the end of the day. Like I've seen a cork a million times. Like it's cool that you even
Mm-hmm.
thought to try that, but at the same time it's like if that's the whole appeal of the clip, it just won't really speak to me personally just because I've seen cork pre like thousands of times at this point. So I
Mm-hmm.
can only watch that so many times before it kind of gets boring to me, at least.
Yeah, that's a good I mean, I think that example particularly was like obviously the mental challenge of it was the challenge. Like we know he can, because that's chalk eye, right? I think he can cork pre, like he's done insanely technical ones. So that one was purely like the challenging part of it for him was just the mental factor. I mean, I also think about like another athlete where I think scale is really pivotal to how he does parkour is like Parker. Like I think everything
Fair.
Parker does feels really um like his knees are 12 years old and
Yeah.
not in his 30s. I look at his
Dude,
flips
his
and I'm just
like
like, oh, my teeth hurt from how they would feel after
yeah.
landing.
His flips that he does to like what are they called? Like a ripstick? That's
Yeah.
bro. How do you how do you even think to try that? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
But like he and not that's so interesting because it is like he's doing really sometimes really technical, interesting acrobatic stuff and using spaces in ways that like what else would you use that 9 foot ledge for other than side pre popped up 10 or something onto concrete. Gah.
Yeah, that clip
But
was sick. I love that.
but yeah, that there's definitely styles where it feels like very the scale aspect feels really fundamental. um so I'm kind of curious because I guess it, I hear, I think like the risk thing is really interesting to hone in on too, because I'm always fascinated with how our community's relationship with risk. I think like parkour in any way that you practice it obviously has a huge mental component. Like if you're doing ledge tricking, stuff can still go very wrong if you're learning new tricks in a soft gym and people are like, you only trains it, like stuff can still go very like there's still tons and tons of mental anytime you're doing anything that's at a high level of difficulty for you. And how do you differentiate when in like from your perspective when it comes to style, how do you differentiate like somebody making the choice to I guess use like a side pre over a gap versus like from maybe a more traditional parkour athlete's perspective, somebody doing, I don't know, double lotus gap, but they're like, oh, it's just another double flip. I guess like that's kind of where I think this is so interesting is because there's like the sport has diverged so much, not diverged, but
Yeah.
like people have specialized so much in different things. I know how hard double lotus is only because people who are really good at tricks I can do tell me that it's very hard, but I can't like imagine putting my body in that position in any context to like land it anytime soon without a crap ton of work. So like where do you feel like the difference in mental game is, or like the role of mental difficulty is in style, or should how mentally difficult it is for the athlete not even really factor into how style is perceived?
Well, I think it kind of just comes down to like what our current style format is. I feel like yeah, like I was saying, it's all completely subjective. It's a very case by case thing. And like I can only tell you like how I would judge it, like if I were a style judge. I'm going almost entirely off of like aesthetics, like just how cool did the line look? Like how what did that like if everyone was like a silhouette, like you could like everyone was blacked out, you could only see like their silhouette. Like which athlete would you be able to like tell instantly like oh like that's that guy, like that couldn't be anybody else. Like that to me
Mm-hmm.
is kind of like a pretty good definition of like what I think style is in a competition setting. But like yeah, I don't know. You can still make like really high scale stuff look cool, and the scale can add to like what looks cool about it. It's just like a taste thing, like I was saying. Like if the scale is like the only thing that's cool about it, then it's just not gonna appeal to me. It might appeal to
Yeah.
somebody because like they like watching stuff at height, but it just won't appeal to me. But you can use it tastefully. Like Daryl does it really well. There's a lot of athletes that like do it really well. It's just like it
I
takes a
think
level of
Ellis has
like
gotten really
yeah,
good at it, actually. I think
that's
he
true.
was somebody that spammed big-ish semi-technical side pre's for a long time and then has just gotten so good at them that like the one that he did at the IMAX walls, that to me is kind of what when I think about how I would apply, you were talking about the sort of like opening up new ideas or adding something new. That to me is also an aspect of sort of you're unlocking a new potential at the spot of a gap that happens, or nobody has done anything because the height is so heinous that people, and all of a sudden now this new feature of the gym is unlocked, this new, oh, somebody can do a thing from the top of that wall to the far IMAX wall in comp. And but it is rare, like it has to be, it's contributing to the vocabulary of the space, I guess. Is maybe where I feel like it is appealing to me. How do you feel about like Gizmo? I don't know really how it's judged, or if it's purely vibes based. It seems as an event just like very very vibes based and fun. But what do you think about experimenting with kind of really, I guess, non traditional formats like Gizmo?
I think it's sick, honestly. I will say I wish there was more like community involvement. Like I wish we could get more athletes to like do that type of thing. But the people that do show up for Gizmo do a really good job. I just wish there was like more of like a push behind it. The other thing with it is I kind of wish it wasn't like a KOTC type thing where you only get like one try. I I love like watching tricking battles. Like I'll watch a ton of tricking battles like on YouTube just like for reference, but it's like so entertaining because there's like this back and forth dynamic that happens where like if you mess up something, there's still multiple rounds after that where you can like make up ground because the other person might mess up something or like you'll do something that
Yeah.
just like kind of outweighs like the slip up you had. So I think when you're watching anything competitive that's happening, there should be like a back and forth that happens. Whereas like with the current like you only get one try at this line, there is no back and forth, so it almost doesn't. It's very hard to watch from like a perspective of someone who doesn't do the sport because like it's just not inherently like you're competing against anybody, you know. So with Gizmo,
Mm-hmm.
I would just ask that like they could do like multiple tries at whatever they're doing, or do it like a tricking battles thing where it's like you get a 30-second like shot clock to just do whatever you want. You can like obviously get practice time and stuff, but like do whatever you want. And then once your 30 seconds is up or once you've done your thing, switches over to the next person. And you guys just have like a back and forth on the course. I think that would be much more like entertaining to watch and also much easier to judge as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is very breakdancing, right? It's like people get their 30 seconds and then the next break beat comes on and the other dancer pops in, and there's that like call and response. I think it's true that that is like we're talking about style parkour, and I think your point that there's no communication between the participants often is really interesting, because like gymnastics, a lot of the objectively scored ones, like you mentioned track and field, how skill parkour feels very much like that in competition, because it is objective, like speed is there's objective. And then you think about dance or tricking. I mean, the other cool thing to your point of getting multiple tries, I haven't watched a ton of tricking in the last couple of years, but I watched a lot when I was starting parkour and for the first probably decade. And in the early like 2010s to like mid 2010s tricking, some of my favorite battles had somebody who was like trying to land a trick multiple times. They end up losing the battle, but they go through like 4 rounds and then they finally get whatever card triple full in the fourth one, and everybody's so hyped. And it's like, yeah, they lost because the
Yeah,
first 3 rounds they ate it and didn't make it, but it gives you the opportunity to also have those moments where like somebody's trying something, they finally get it. And I do think that's really powerful. And then, I mean, breakdancing to me is like the best example. You see people pulling and like artistically transitioning from their opponent's line. So like somebody will end in a pose, right? And then the next guy will come in and like hit the wackiest version of that pose to make it look super lame
yeah,
and be like, yeah, that's how you looked. I'm gonna now do the better version of
exactly.
this thing in it. And that's like a very like one-on-one, like 1v1 take. But I do think it opens the opportunity for people to be more stylish and artistic with how they're using space and the competition format. Like it makes the competition format almost like an obstacle as opposed to something that everybody has to work inside. I would love to see Gizmo. I mean, your point that like it's kind of limited. I think like obviously parkour is always limited by like who can pay to attend stuff and
Yeah,
how many, if it's in Europe, it's going to be the same 300 people who are amazing and I love all of them and know probably all of them as personal friends, but it is like I would love to see more people just take formats that they like and repeat it. Like I would love to see 6 Gizmo battle ripoffs happen in the US, or like we had like Renee Domblaze does Spot Destroyer, and that's an absolute blast to participate in from a skill athlete's perspective. I would love to see more of that style of thing where it's just like it organically happens. You iterate, if 20 people do it throughout the year, now you have 20x the practice rounds for people to like get better at the competition, figure out the format, all that stuff, and like 20 opportunities for also people to be in that like creative headspace where they're collaborating with each other and pushing each other and all that. Are there any comp styles that or like formats that you see as being like an interesting, maybe not like you wouldn't put money behind it, but like something that would be interesting to try?
um I mean, honestly, like besides like the ones that I already mentioned, it's kind of hard because I don't know. I just really love like tricking battles and breakdancing battles
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I really like that like back and forth dynamic where it feels like you're actually competing against someone. But yeah, it's also like it's completely subjective, you know? Like even if you like you feel like you did something better, like who's to really say that you did it better than the other person? So like it's all subjective at the end of the day. But yeah, it's very hard to do like a style competition in any way that's subjective, and I don't think it should ever be subjective. So, I would
Mm-hmm.
just love to see like, yeah, like game of trick because we did a game of trick at Shadow Gathering in Arizona back in November, and it went so well. It was super fun. We had like multiple groups of like people that did a couple rounds to like progress to the finals where you just played game of trick against a bunch of people and you can set like whatever you want, and it was awesome. Like it was super entertaining. I ended up going against James West in the finals, and then
Saw that. That
because
was
of that,
sick.
yeah, it just made me had to do stuff that like I wouldn't normally do. So it was super fun, and I also set stuff that like other people wouldn't normally try. So I think that format specifically has like a lot of potential to like be really fun to watch, even if you don't do parkour, because it's so simple. Like if someone sets like, yeah, he did this flip or this jump, it's like, okay, now the other person has to do it. If they don't do exactly what they did, then you don't get a point. So I think that one is like there's a lot of potential with that one. I would love to see Game of Tricks specifically get like super big.
Yeah. We've also done we did a stick jam, which is just the non-acrobatic. Well, I guess it actually did get acrobatic because people were adding flip priests and stuff, but obviously stick, you're trying to stick a challenge trick, you're trying to execute a broader, like it could be anything. Um but that was really fun. We did that in Denver and I think we had about 50 people. And yeah, that was a really fun time. I think there's a cool video format. I could see it going either way. in person. Like I could see it being a little bit too like long and meandery. But if you have all high level people, it's pretty gnarly, and
Yeah.
it gets fun fast. So, but it's also great because it's like you can do a stick, and we had 5 divisions, and people like put themselves into whatever sort of challenge level that they wanted, and the top level was like, I don't remember exactly everybody, but it was like Julius Porter and like Olaf Wood and Michael Slyke, like Joey Jepson, a lot of the like high technical parkour guys in Colorado, and yeah, people were going in. I wish I'd been filming. It was a cool thing. Are you working on any outdoor stuff right now, or cooking up anything fun in the trick kitchen?
Yeah, no, me and my friends have actually been saving clips since like October of last year. So we're aiming to put
Sick.
out like a pretty big project, hopefully out by like the end of this year. If like, we set deadlines as like a goal, but like if we get there and we're not satisfied with it, we'll push it, and then just we'll wait until it's like completely good to be put out. But yeah, I'm super excited about that. I have like a bunch of stuff I'm sitting on. So I've only been posting gym clips because like I'm saving all my outside stuff. But yeah,
Is that all
I,
filmed in Utah pretty much?
yeah, so far it's all in Utah, but I'm gonna be going out to South Carolina pretty soon to get some stuff out there, and then a few other places as well. So I'm excited for it though, because for this one we're trying to do like an album inspired video, so it's gonna have like a track list that we put out where like each song is gonna be like a completely different type of edit with parkour, and we're gonna have like interludes and stuff. So very excited to put that out. We've been working on that
That's
for a
super
while.
cool. Who are the other people that are involved in that with you?
Yeah, so it's just a bunch of my friends. So Aurora Woodbury, Nicholas Olson. He's like a really good like tricker and like videographer from Utah. He actually
Mm-hmm.
tore his ACL, so he's just gonna be like behind the camera, but he's like amazing at that. And then Gunther, so his real name is Michael Landon, but Gunther Tube on Instagram, he's also gonna be in there. And then we're also gonna get like features as well. So I'm not gonna reveal who the features are, but we're getting features from other athletes that we're also gonna
Sick.
like strategically place like for different songs that like fit the vibe and stuff. So I'm very excited. We're gonna treat it very much like a album that comes out. So I'm excited.
I love that concept. That's a really cool concept or it almost feels like how I feel like there's the obviously the skate part aesthetic has been a big vibe for like Keepa and GFam and some of those guys. It doesn't to me quite work as well in parkour, but I'm really curious. I feel like the album vibe could be very fun because like the skate part vibe I don't like because it almost feels too similar, and I like the
Yeah.
idea of having the different energies for different athletes and really like digging into that as a concept. That's cool.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of parkour videos now are like, I don't know really what year it happened, but there was like a very clear like meta that was established where it's like, this is how you make a parkour video, where it's like it has to be like a skate video, where it's like I don't mind that. Like it was cool the first couple times, but it's like I would love to see more like creative types of videos happening. So, I mean, we'll start with
Yeah,
that. We'll do it ourselves. We'll set the example, you know what I'm saying? But like
there you
I,
go.
I would love to see more like just I really liked like that protein video, or however
I
you
was gonna
say
ask if
that.
you saw Protein.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was so sick. I loved that. Like I really miss the
it
era
gave
where
me
you could.
nightmares with all the teeth eating shenanigans, but the
Yeah.
creative, yeah, it felt like I had accidentally that somebody had like dropped peyote into my milk in the fridge and that I went on an unintentional acid trip or something. It was very fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like so creative. I loved that so much. That like I love like videos that just like bring new stuff to the table. Maybe it means I have like a short attention span or something, but like I don't know. I'm all about like just like the new thing that's happening. So I was a really big fan of that. Yeah, I just would love to see more parkour videos that are like just trying out new things, because there was very much a weird like meta that was set where it's like every parkour video has to be this thing now. So would love to see people like break out of that.
Yeah. I think we have that about every 4 or 5 years because I think like I don't always love the aesthetic choices or like similarities that a lot of videos have right now. But then I think about like the golden age for me of parkour content from 2010 to like 2014 or 15, and it was just the meta then was like a bunch of middle class white kids traveling to countries and
Yeah.
then like putting their arms up on the top of a cliff and having like aspirational indie rock in the background,
Yeah.
and it was just like the visual language was that for 5 years, and then it went into a bit more, I don't know, there's kind of a bit more of a mixed up period, and then I do feel like the sort of Kippa G fam, Commons, like next gen alt parkour vibe has taken over, which is very like skate, ski, snowboard inspired. And I think it's a great aesthetic, and like it's very authentic to some of the people. And I think for me, what some of the people, it doesn't quite feel like it is as authentic to their movement or to like their personality. If I did it, I would be very inauthentic to my movement and my personality. Um,
Yeah.
but then some of the people you're like, oh yeah, totally. Josh Malone makes perfect sense. Like that's his vibe. Logan Frady or Ross, like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like Ross is posting inline half the time, like totally valid that that is the
Yeah.
aesthetic. So I feel like there's an authenticity thing, and that's kind of actually what I've gotten a lot of in this conversation when you were talking about the silhouette. You know, I feel like there's, you say novelty, and I think is like, it seems like you definitely value novelty and new contributions and experimentation a lot in the meta of the sport and the practice. But it also feels like, you know, you seem very cued in on people authentically representing themselves through like their movement and their art, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean that's all it is at the end of the day. Like parkour is like music to me. Like it's super expressive because like I think it's really cool how everyone in the sport can have like this same spot and all come up with like completely different things to do there. So I think that's awesome. Like it is completely just like I love seeing like your personality like shine through whatever it is you're making or like whatever run you do or whatever. So that's like the whole point
Yeah.
of the sport to me at least.
Yeah, I totally agreed. Are you going to any big events this year or
Honestly,
events at
this
all?
year I'm kind of taking a year off. I'm not gonna lie, because I got kind of burnt out from competing. I last year and like the year,
Sorry.
I haven't taken like a real vacation in like 5 years because I work like a full time job, and so like whenever I like take like time off from my job, it's always been to like go to like a parkour thing where I'm usually going there and like overexerting myself or like stressing about competing in something. So when I get back, I'm not actually like well rested. So I'm like, dang, I didn't actually take like a break. So it's low key been like 5 years of like just constant working and stuff. So this year I'm like I'm trying to take it more easy and like just focus on like our video project and just taking real vacations that aren't parkour related. So yeah, this year I'm kind of taking a year off. I'll get back into it eventually like on the competitive side of things, but competing actually like kind of held me back for a long time like from making a video because it's like well, I can like do like my coolest stuff like for a video, but like I might get hurt and then I won't get to compete in this thing. So it's like I'm probably just gonna not really try to film the video. But this year I'm probably not really competing and stuff. Unless like KOTC happens, I'll probably pull up to that. But in general I'm fully focused this year on like just trying to put out like a video project. So I'm gonna go to South Carolina pretty soon, and then after that I'm not really sure. That might be my only parkour trip for this year, to be honest. Just
Some
taking
desert
normal
camping in
vacations.
Utah. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, sick. Last question I always like to ask everybody is, do you have a piece of media, so it could be like a YouTube video, documentary, music, anything that you would recommend to the audience?
Let me find it real quick. There was actually this one YouTube video that like it's kind of corny, but it really inspired me. Let me find it real quick.
Gives me a chance to stop sneezing. It's the for the listener recording this past my bedtime.
Sorry about
I d-
that.
no, no, it was actually, I mean, it was totally, it just works was worked out. And I have to do it after Margot goes to sleep, so this is when I always start sneezing. That's how you know
All
you're
right,
old.
so I'll give two recommendations. So like a movement recommendation, like a parkour video type thing. Um, I would watch like Ryuya's best of 2025 video. So I think it's Ryuya Kuwasaki. I'm totally probably ruining his name, but his like yearly recaps are like so inspirational to me. I'll watch those like every now and then like before a session just to get new ideas because I think he moves in a way that's like super out there. He's always doing really cool stuff. So his YouTube channel is like RJUSEUM. Yeah,
Yeah.
his like 2024 and 2025 recaps are like amazing to watch. And then unrelated to that, this Nathan Zed video on YouTube called "You'll Never Be Ready." That one's really good. That one just kind of changed like how I see like life in general. So not movement related at all. But if you want to check that out, I thought that video
Yeah.
was pretty beautiful and changed my outlook on life. So probably those two.
Sick. Awesome. Thank you for the recommendations. This has been really fun. I don't think we solved anything, but that wasn't my goal. I think that's the
No, it's
whole
okay.
the whole point is you don't need to solve anything in a subjective sport. You just need to create a space to yeah, share interesting and differing opinions for everybody to grow and figure out what resonates with them.
For sure. Yeah. It's all
Heck yeah.
subjective. Do what you want to do. I just want to see you. I just want to see you. Don't try to copy trends. Don't like do something just because it's like gonna get you a lot of views. Don't do something because it was like, oh, it's so like messed up. Do you. I just want to see you. That's all I care about. Make art. Make something only you could
Beautiful.
make.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I definitely feel again like I had some things questioned in an interesting way, or at least I was able to kind of put myself more in Denali's shoes and see things from his perspective. I think that there's some aspects that I think I don't quite maybe see eye to eye. I think, we dig in a little bit to the whole scale and risk thing. I think scale and risk are a way of creating something new in the sport. I think that putting yourself in a new mental spot because you're pushing the gap, you're opening up a gap for other people to follow. And I kind of talk about this a bit. I think that is kind of an inherent part of, or an inherent way to push challenge. I don't want to say an inherent part of parkour, but I think it's a fundamental aspect that we can use to create a new challenge in a similar space or the same space and a way to add complexity and novelty. But I really also appreciate how Denali was able to, again, articulate his perspective of kind of what novelty and style means. And I 100% agree and feel like we're on the same page that it seemed like he kept coming back to authenticity in this conversation and how what he wants to see is more people showing what authenticity means to them. For some people like me, I think authenticity is actually just doing more of these like traditional basic movements and adding scale or adding complexity based on the environment. But I do think that, it's good to not pigeonhole yourself. And I think having these types of conversations with athletes who are pushing the sport in a direction that's very different from the way that I like to push the sport is amazing and contributes a ton to the vocabulary of how we practice. Hope this gave you something to think about. I definitely feel like I've had some thoughts rolling around in my head since this conversation. As always, thank you so much for listening. Next week, we've got Davis Vasconcelos on and a few other amazing guests lined up soon. Gonna drop some names. Camilla is coming on soon. Sam Ultima, just finding a date. Flynn Disney. Some really, really fun episodes that should be coming up. So thank you for listening. Looking forward to seeing you next week.